If you want to play college lacrosse, it's important to understand the difference between D1, D2, and D3 lacrosse. All three divisions have different scholarship situations, time commitments, and other factors that make them unique. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about each division so you can make the best decision about which level to play. Some of the things you'll learn in this video might just surprise you. I'm Jake with Lax Weekly, let's get into the video. So first, let's start with how many teams there are at each division. In D1 lacrosse, there are 74 teams, in Division 2 lacrosse, there are 73 teams, and in Division 3 lacrosse, there are 248 lacrosse teams. These numbers might fluctuate by one or two teams, depending on when you're watching this, but generally they stay about the same. As you can see, a majority of NCAA lacrosse opportunities are at the Division 3 level. So the next big question is scholarships. How much money can you get if you play at each level? Well, in Division 1 lacrosse, there are 12.6 full scholarships that a coach can give out to the entire team. That means that full rides are extremely rare to come by, and it's most likely that you'll get a partial scholarship. After doing some research and talking to a few D1 players, it seems like the average scholarship amount is around $20,000 or about 30% of what it costs to go to college annually. Now, this number might vary widely by school, so keep that in mind. Division 2 also offers scholarships, but there are slightly less scholarships to go around, with 10.8 scholarships per team as opposed to 12.6 for D1. Based on my research, the average scholarship in D2 lacrosse is around $7,000. And lastly, we have D3 lacrosse, and D3 schools offer no athletic scholarships whatsoever. But keep in mind, these schools do offer academic scholarships, and nearly 80% of D3 athletes receive some sort of academic scholarship. So if you make good grades and have good test scores, you can get some of your college paid for. And by the way, you can join 3,000 other lacrosse players and join the Lax Weekly email newsletter packed with tangible tips on how to become a better lacrosse player. I'll leave a link in the description where you can go subscribe now. So now that we know how many teams there are at each level and how much scholarship money you can get, let's talk about how hard it is to play at each level. Division 1 lacrosse is certainly the most competitive level of college lacrosse, and it's no secret why. D1 lacrosse schools have more funding and the most recognizable colleges like Duke, Syracuse, and the University of Virginia. With more money and prestige, the top high school recruits generally go to the top D1 lacrosse colleges. However, when you start looking at the bottom tier D1 schools, this is where things get interesting. There have been several examples where the lowest ranked D1 schools have been beaten by the highest ranked D2 or D3 schools. Although everything varies year by year, there are certainly D2 and D3 schools that are better than some D1 schools. But overall, most everyone can confidently say that the top half of D1 schools are the best college lacrosse teams in all of the divisions. When you compare D2 and D3 schools, this is where it becomes more of a toss-up. The top D2 and D3 teams are usually equally as talented and could beat each other on any given day. However, because there are so many D3 schools, there is a significant drop-off in level of lacrosse in D3. The bottom 20 D3 lacrosse schools are significantly worse than the bottom 20 D2 schools. So overall, D2 is a higher level of lacrosse on average, but D3 might have slightly better top teams. If you're confused at all, drop a comment down below and I'll try to answer it whenever I can. Now that we have all that information in mind, let's talk about a very important factor: time commitment. D1 lacrosse certainly has the most time commitment, with almost daily practices and lifts 9 months out of the year. The D1 season is split up into 3 parts: the fall, the winter, and the spring. Fall lacrosse is about a month and a half and consists of 5 practices a week and lifting 3 to 4 days a week. Winter lacrosse lasts 2 to 3 months and consists of more workouts and skill sessions about 5 days a week. In the spring, during the season, you can expect to practice nearly every day with additional film sessions and workouts on top of traveling on weekends to different colleges to play your games. As you can see already, D1 lacrosse is a huge time commitment, and it's essentially a full-time job on top of your academics. If you love lacrosse, D1 lacrosse can be a dream. But keep in mind that it's going to be lacrosse all the time. I've known hundreds of players who go to a D1 school and transfer after a few months just because they don't realize the time commitment. From researching and speaking with top 2 and D3 players, the top schools from these divisions have very similar time commitments to D1. The biggest difference is that in D3 lacrosse, you don't have an official winter season like D1, so all of your practices are captain's practices that might be 2 to 3 times a week, as opposed to 5 times a week for D1 and D2. Even though you practice less in D3, many players are expected to do individual workouts outside of lacrosse to stay in shape, so the time commitment can start to look very similar to D1. Now let's talk about academic reputation. D1 lacrosse has many of the top academic schools, including the Ivy Leagues like Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, and also top-ranked public schools like UVA or UNC. But there are also tons of top academic schools in Division III, including NESCAC schools like Tufts, Wesleyan, and Williams. These schools attract some of the top high school students every year, and they are just as, if not more prestigious than plenty of D1 schools. And just like all divisions, there are plenty of schools with a lower academic reputation as well. Division II also varies in academics, with some schools like Bentley University having a top-ranked business school in the country. Overall, academic reputation varies widely, but Division I generally has more of those schools that you recognize. So now that you understand all the differences between each division, I highly recommend you figure out how to get recruited. I'm going to be making a lot of recruiting videos in the future, so make sure to check the links down in the description for more videos. I'm Jake with Lax Weekly, and I read every comment, so let me know what you want to see next, and I hope you have a fantastic day.